Hello, my name is Richard Weitz. I'm a senior fellow and director of the Center for Political Military Analysis here at the Hudson Institute. I'm here today to talk about President Barack Obama's meetings this week in New York, predominantly at the UN General Assembly annual meeting. The president is going to have something of an historic occasion. This will be the first time that a U.S. president has chaired a summit session of the UN Security Council. There are about 6 of these sessions, and they've been around for about a dozen years. But this is the first time it's coincided with the U.S. having the rotating chairmanship of the Security Council. In some ways, it's a very opportune time for the president. His popularity has fallen somewhat from the historic highs that occurred when he was elected. He's encountering some difficulties getting his domestic program, particularly health care, through Congress. So this is a very opportune time for him to be seen with all the world leaders who come every year to the opening of the General Assembly, and show that he's the leader of the free world, a statesman, can handle diplomacy, ideally, although they didn't plan it this way, the administration will benefit because it will redound on the president himself and help boost his stature. In terms of the substance of the meetings, the administration spokespeople, from the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and others, have indicated that a priority will probably be Iran. The administration has tried to reach out with a dialogue with Iran, but has encountered serious difficulties, primarily on the Iranian side, due to the domestic chaos that followed the elections in June. The administration recently made a decision to reposition the American missile defenses, which were scheduled to be deployed in Poland, the Czech Republic. They're now going to move them further south, at least initially. And the hope is that this gesture, which is something that the Russians have called for a long time, will help encourage the Russians to take a more responsible, more approach towards imposing additional sanctions on Iran, or at least threatening to do so, because there's going to have to be some kind of coercive element. Now, President Ahmadinejad of Iran will be there at New York, but the indications are that the White House is going to avoid any situation in which Obama will be seen, for example, shaking the president's hand. But much of the other dialogues the president will engage in, meeting with the president of Russia, president of China, and others, will be about Iran, trying to mobilize some kind of consensus about how to deal with Iran's nuclear program. Another important objective will be the Middle East peace process. The president is scheduled to meet with the Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and the head of the Palestinian Authority in New York, but not on sort of the outside, on the sidelines of the General Assembly meeting. The administration has had some difficulties trying to deal with the settlement issue, and so this is an opportunity in which the president hopes to engage directly with the leaders. Another issue which was thought to be important but probably will not be is climate change. The president will be engaged in the climate change dialogue before the opening session. It was something that it came up during the campaign. The administration said that the president said he was very supportive of trying to deal with the issue, but the UN has run into something of a stalemate. Other issues that might be developed include the world economy, though that will probably be dealt with later this week at the G20 meeting in Pittsburgh. Perhaps North Korea, which is still a complicated issue, the 6-party talk, since the other parties will be there, it might be an opportunity to engage in some kind of dialogue in this area. Nuclear security is going to be an important issue. That's the subject of the special UN Security Council summit, and Secretary Clinton will be making a speech in favor of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So the administration has a very broad agenda, but it's focused on certain key issues, primarily nuclear security, nuclear nonproliferation, and bringing the Middle East peace. If the president is seen as successful, the hope is this will redound on his domestic program as well. Thank you so much for hearing me.